Benton Harbor, Michigan is a unique place that is home to less than 10,000 people with the hearts of 1 million. From the outside looking in, there's a strong emphasis on place, the location on the lake, and easy access to I 94. But this series focuses on the people and their view of leadership, influence, and power, and how it impacts the 49022. So, welcome to our special series of the Please Do podcast surrounding stories of the Benton Harbor community. Today, we're talking with Larry, and Larry is one of our researchers that has, over the past few months, has been going out into our community and collecting stories around these three topics. So, welcome, Larry.
Hey, how's it going?
So, Larry, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself? Because I can actually talk about you on and on and on because I literally feel like I've known you half of my life.
Okay. My name is Larry Carter. I'm born and raised in Benton Harbor, Michigan. Went to Benton Harbor High School. I went away for about 8 years to Muskegon, Michigan, and I've been back here since 2012. And I just really wanted to be a part of this research. I just really care about the community, the future of the community, and a lot of times we stay stuck in the past, but it's time to move forward. So I just really wanted to see where the people was at. I was working for a company called Gayen, and a lot of people would talk to me about even like substitutes coming into school. Oh man, I don't put Benton Harbor down. I took my name off the Benton Harbor list, and I'm like, oh man, it ain't that bad. I always take up for the community, but the more I started working with some of the youth, it was worse than the people said it was. So it was an eye opener. So I wanted to be able to get these stories and see how we can start to make change.
Now, before we get into the stories that you collected, because listen, between Larry and I think we have been Harbor sewed up like he knows everybody. He knows everybody.
I know a few people.
But he uses his influence in so many different ways. Larry, since I've known him, he's been a singer and he's even doing a lot of that right now, which I'm just, of course, that's another episode or whatever. But I just really think it's cool that he even decided to be a part of this project with all of us as far as collecting these stories, because he's so passionate about, like he said, he's passionate about this community and even working with youth. And I know that even over this past summer, I know you were a volunteer working with a lot of young people in this community, but even this summer during COVID, you were a part of a special group of teenagers that were able to sit in a room, social distance, of course, and tell a few of their stories. So can you tell me how that impact was for you? Because that's even like leading into almost the teen influence in the city.
It was a cool experience. We had children from different high schools. They were all Benton Harbor residents, but we had like Benton Harbor, we had St. Joe, we had Barron Springs. So it was interesting to get those different point of views and how the school life, how the school body was, how the staff was. It was a really interesting piece that we did, and I was glad to be a part of that as well, just to see where our young people were and how they felt about certain topics that we discussed.
So what were some of those topics or even any stories that you even remember from those sessions?
One that stuck out was a young lady, and when she talked about Black history, and she talked about how she pushed for having a Black history program. They had never had one at her high school, which was Barron Springs, but she's a Benton Harbor resident, and she said she really pushed for a Black history program because that's something that they didn't have. That's something that they wasn't really taught. They wouldn't really spend a lot of time on in her school. So I think that was big for her to use her voice and actually push that. And hopefully they'll continue it now she's gone. She was a singer. So hopefully they continue that going forward.
Why do you think that it's so important that we even continue to build those relationships with those young people. Because even during those sessions, they stated, you want to hear our opinion, like you really want to hear from us. um, Now more than ever, do you think that it's important to really have those relationships with young people, or should we even start sooner than them being in high school?
Um, I think it was a great thing to do because a lot of times the young people don't feel like they have a voice, but we actually gave them a voice, gave them a platform to speak on topics that they wanted to speak on. But I think it would be maybe a better idea to even start younger because, like I said, the ones we had they were all seniors, I believe.
Hmm.
So even we was maybe junior, even early as junior high, just getting. I think the kids are more advanced than like I say me or you was back when we were in middle school. The world just more advanced. You know, there's a lot more out there. The social media, the different things. So I just think it's maybe junior high starting these kind of conversations. Um, Maybe not all the same conversations, but just giving the youth an outlet to get their voice and let their voice be heard out.
So we're gonna hop into your stories in just a second, and especially with working with young people and people knowing that you work with young people, did any of your conversations even did you all bring up about how different influences from even different people in the city has impacted these young people?
Um, yeah, my in my interviews, it wasn't shocking, and I kind of was thinking the same thing. A lot when you think of influence, a lot of people think just they think youth. They don't think that adults can be influenced, which is not true. We can be influenced as well, but it went on a lot of things so as far as the youth are being influenced by social media or maybe the people that's involved in illegal activity, as maybe drug dealers. A lot of scamming went on this a lot of scamming went on this summer. So it was it was interesting to hear the point of views, but it was more on the youth not having a lot of positive influence. Because it's almost like the blind leading the blind. A lot of times now you're looking at more of the youth and the youth movement. They're influencing the older folks, which is backwards to me. So it's an interesting topic. Like I say, I really wanted to get the people's point of views, but I think yeah, the youth are leading the older folks more than the older folks are leading the youth, which is a problem.
So let's start with Sheana's story. Why did you decide to interview Sheana?
Um, I just thought she'd be cool to interview because she's really blunt. She likes to she said what was on her mind, and I just wanted to get some truth. And I know she always going to speak her truth. A lot of people were scared to do this interview because they didn't, what should I say? How should I say it?
Hmm.
I didn't want that type of person. I wanted that person that was going to give me what they wanted to say. Didn't care who heard it, didn't care about, but it was them. It was their honest opinion about what's going on in the city of Benton Harbor, which is what I really thought we needed for this project.
Hmm. That's so true because even it was some interviews. Once we hit stop, it was like then they turned it on. I was like, now wait a minute. This is what I needed recorded. So I'm like, can I write this down? Because it was almost like I have to give you the right answer. It's like, no, I want your honest opinion of how some things, if you want to see change, how does that look to you? So even with talking with Sheana about influence, what was your takeaway from that? Like, what did she have to say?
Um, she talked about how just the negative influence on the youth. People glorifying the illegal activity again. Which a lot of my interviews revert back to that. The illegal activities going on in the city. The drug dealers. The expensive cars, the nice dressing. But our youth need to see more people involved in those type of things, but the positive way.
Mhm.
I me for instance, working at the teen center. Once COVID is up, I want to get more positive black men coming in that's successful. That doesn't sell drugs. That's really really just so community, but they go under the radar because they're not out in the streets. They're not, maybe they're not so popular, or maybe they're not doing illegal activity, which is strange. We glorify a lot of the wrong things here in Ben Harbor. We give props to a lot of the wrong things, the illegal things and the negative things, instead of highlighting the bright spots in Ben Harbor, because there are some great people here in Ben Harbor doing great things.
And I think also the narrative of or the story surrounding those that once were doing illegal activities or doing I guess some not so positive things, but now they've kind of turned it around and it's like, no, don't be me. Don't do what I did. Like those stories, I don't think those stories are highlighted either.
No, they're not. Because it's sad. It's just like social media. I can post. I got this saying. I always say, "Live in peace." A lot of people crack jokes. But it's live in peace, because it's in this community we hear so much rest in peace, rest in peace. Someone else passed away, which is a sad occasion. So I just wanted people, while we living on this earth, just to live in peace. But people don't really gravitate towards that. They gravitate more towards the drama post. If I put something up, and I don't intend it to be drama, because I'm not a drama guy, but it might be a little edgy or something. That's when they get all the traffic.
Yeah.
People love drama, and it's like, it just don't make sense. They love negativity. Positive things in Ben Harbor don't get glorified.
Yeah.
And it's sickening. I don't know it not just happened in Ben Harbor, but this is the community that I care about, so I follow it. So it's just like, oh, here we go, another one. Here go another one. Like you see that on social media. It's always something negative. So I love to highlight the positive that we got. So even with the interviews, a lot of them was talking about a lot of the negative. But we do get positive. But everybody's stuck in the negative mind state.
So let's hear from Sheana, because she talks about influence, and she even gives, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and I'm just blown away by how, and I'm going to say it this way, how resourceful my Ben Harbor people have been to get money during this time. So Sheana talks a little bit about I guess the activity that has been of influence even during over the past 9 months. So let's hear from her.
But again, I think that you are influenced by what you see and what's on social media and all of that. And I see a lot of people again glorifying people who are not really doing what they should be doing or doing it the correct way to grow. They kind of glorify people who are into things that are illegal, and they kind of put them on a pedestal, which makes bad, because the young people see that and they want to replicate that instead of working hard and doing it the right way.
Okay, I can agree with that. Like I see on social media all the time when you got the relationship goals, and it might be some materialistic type of thing.
Yeah,
that's a lot of people as far as a car, or you just see this rapper, this girl.
Even I was having a conversation with somebody, and they was just talking about how people is doing that the scheme with the government for the loan. And they like, this girl bought 2 cars, and these cars so nice, and she doing it. And I'm like, but she can go to prison for a long time. Why is that? Why would we be like, oh yeah, her car is nice.
Exactly.
And she stole money.
I see a lot of that too, glorifying the criminal life.
Crazy to me.
Yeah.
So that's
kind of sad, actually.
It's sad. I hate it.
Hey, now, that was real.
Yeah.
RJ, it's like real. But and that's why I interviewed her, because like I said, she gonna keep it real. Like people, and that's how people doing. Like, hey, she doing it. She big doing it. Like I say, she can actually go to jail for that scam. But people's glorifying it. It just, it's the mindset. We got to change our way of thinking here in Ben Harbor. We got to change it. But right now it's just I don't know where we start. That's why we're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully we can find a solution.
Yeah.
We're getting out in the community because it's just like, yeah, that's what it is. And that's what, like I said, that's what we're glorifying.
I just love her because even when I see her, I'm like, I know she gonna keep it real. I know it, and there's no filter, and I'm just like, I love the no filters. I really do.
Yeah.
I really, really do. Yeah, because even I listened to it again on my way here, and I said, this child, we need more people like her stepping up or even giving her platforms such as this to tell those stories, to voice those opinions and how she or he or whomever wants to see change. So Sheana, I know she talks about leadership and what that looks like and how that impacts the 49022. What was that conversation like before we hear from her?
She kind of just talked about different things in the community again. And she was saying how some of our leaders, keep the wrong company or be around the wrong company, But as I stated in the interview, so does that mean because you're in a leadership role, you can't do certain things, And when I kind of thought about it, maybe you can't, because like me being a leader, I feel like at the teen center, it was certain things that I felt like I couldn't do anymore. And not saying I'm involved in illegal activity. Let me get that straight.
Yeah.
It was just certain things and certain ways that I couldn't carry myself because I know a lot of the guys were looking at me, So I kind of felt her a little later, but in the beginning I was like, well, what you mean? Well, we can't continue living our lives so we're in a leadership role, but you think about it, it's just certain things that maybe you can't be and stuff you can't be at, like I remember like with in church they be like you shouldn't be at liquor stores. You should go to Walgreens instead of Slausson's, because you know what I mean. But that's a little deeper than what we're talking about. But that's just in life, sometimes you got to change some of the things that you do and some of the people that you be around, even for sometimes even family. Like if for a quick example, if you're a drinker, you shouldn't be going to these social and you recovering from drinking, you're not drinking anymore. Maybe you shouldn't go to the gathering where all your family likes to drink a lot. You can't handle it. So that's why sometimes they say you shouldn't be around these type of situations. But yeah.
So even when I think she mentioned a little bit about putting certain people on a pedestal or something like that. But when you mentioned not doing this or not doing that, and I know we've even talked about it when it comes to leadership or people get certain roles. It's like they can also look at you like, oh, you still doing that? Instead of encouraging you to change, they're also looking down at you as well. But that might be a different conversation for another day too, because I know we have talked about that. People being transparent enough to tell those stories of overcoming, but also not looking down upon someone because it's like, I changed, but you haven't.
And that's a big thing going on in the community. Like you say, I can talk about that, but like you say, maybe that's a different conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's almost like that was a teaser, like what they really talking about. Yeah, so let's hear from Sheana because I know she got something to say.
Do you believe it's a lot of pressure to be in a leadership role in this community?
So I think there is a lot of, I guess it's a lot of pressure to be somebody. So I wouldn't necessarily say there's a lot of pressure to be a leader, but to be somebody. Like I see a lot of people that want to be, I guess, essentially a leader because they want the attention or they want the people to look at them, or they want their name out there, but not really for the right reason.
Yeah, and me, I thought about that too. In another interview I had, like being the pressure of being in a leadership role. I don't think it's pressure because you being a leader, it's coming with pressure. The lights are on. Right. The spotlight is on. I always use an example because a lot of people talk about leadership being the pastors, and I disagree too. Mm-hmm. But I always see people talking about leaders being pastors, and but like I tell people all the time, I think it's even pressure with that because the spotlight is always on them. People forgetting that they're human, or they make a mistake, or they do this, they do that.
I even have a few stories of my own, especially when it comes to like leadership and being transparent and even holding others around you accountable. So, yeah, what was your takeaway from what Sheana had to say about leadership, especially in our government?
To some points, I agree, and then at some points, I kind of disagree. Like I said, a lot of people, they human. And like I said, but sometimes I think we can get too involved with some people. Like I was saying earlier, sometimes you just have to distance yourself from some people that you were accustomed to being around before, because it gives a bad look for you. But then sometimes when you're in leadership, you don't really care about some of that stuff. You just keep on living, doing your life. But I think sometimes we just have to distance ourselves. And I know it's easier said than done. But like for instance, when she brought up the mayor, I like the fact that he's involved in a lot of different things in the community. When people see him with certain people, their eyes get big. Oh, what is he doing with such and such? Or what is he doing with such and such? Such and such live in this community. Such and such is from Benton Harbor. We can't treat just because he's not a CEO or just because he's not a teacher at the high school or he on the police department or a commissioner, people just stay away from these people. So I think you should treat everybody the same. You should treat everybody accordingly. But we can't look down on the people that's not in leadership roles. We just shy away from them. We stay away from them. So, but then again, I understand where she was coming from. So it's a lot of mix. It's a lot of different opinions on that topic actually. And like I said, sometimes you got to be tough. You got to be stronger to lead and show like, okay, all money, not good money. Mm-hmm. But we, in this community, money is money. And I'm going to get that money by any means necessary. So like I said, it's tough. It's tough being in the city of, a predominantly black community. It's a lot of, and that's why, again, I say, I think leadership can be tough, but when you come into leadership, what it come with. Like you're not 50 years old not knowing what is about to come with it. Especially being in Benton Harbor. If you've been here your whole life, coming with some backlash, whether good or bad. Everybody not gonna be for you, and you got to understand that everybody not gonna with your tactics and things that you want to do. They got to understand that everybody didn't agree with that percent taken out for that the taxes taken out. Yeah. But it's been some positive come from it, and now that it's been in place, I don't think we even noticed that little little percentage out of their check. So someone got to take the good with the bad. Everything you're gonna do everything right. You're not gonna be able to please everybody. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? That's something that people got to understand in being in leadership.
So let me go back to what my original point was of when it comes to leadership and being transparent and a different level of accountability. I was saying, I don't think we see a whole lot of that as far as someone actually saying, as a leader, this is where I was and this is where I am. Like really giving that. And I mean, they don't really have to, but it helps us to give a connection. So, for instance, I can't tell you the last time I've been to a revival. Cannot tell you before. I mean, even as an adult, like, of course, as a little kid, you had to go. But as an adult, I couldn't remember the last time until last year. And so I went to one at Pastor McAfee's church, and he had different pastors from different, I guess, basically areas of the country. And one of them got on there and was like, I was a pastor in the church. I would preach it down on a Sunday. By Sunday evening, I was drunk. Like my friends knew. I would call them drunk. He said, they talking to me. They're trying to pray for me. But I had to really realize that I had an issue. I had a problem and I needed help. Like I don't know if anybody else saying like, oh no, or I know even few other pastors, even in this area have stood up and said, I had a sex addiction. This is what I did. This is how I've overcome. And I feel like a lot of our leaders do not do that. They don't. It's like when you are in leadership, there's going to be some certain things that may come up about you or that you probably feel like you need to address or just don't address or whatever. But I feel like even being in this small community, people are going to talk. They're going to talk, and it's almost like, why don't you address it before anybody else does? Because you're going to continue to get those people that is just like, well, I mean, he hanging out with the drug dealers, or they hanging out with the drug dealers, or they're actually allowing the kids to do this and that and other without knowing what's really going on behind the scenes. So I just feel like it just needs to be a whole nother level of transparency when it comes to leadership. And that's my 2 cents.
Okay. I can dig that. Hey, and shouts out to Healthy Harbor. Hey, this season good stuff. Healthy Harbor and Benton Harbor on Main Street. Check them out.
We slurping on shakes and teas, like giving us a good little boost this morning. Little boost. So did Sheana talk about power at all?
In particular, no one person inspires me in particular, but I think like people who do things behind the scenes inspire me. Like people who you really don't know that they're doing stuff, but they're making strides for the community or they're making strides for the young people. Like really working behind the scenes. Like just for example, like people that work at the Boys and Girls Club, working with the kids, giving them like good direction, positive direction. That's inspiring. People that do different, community, they clean up the highways and roads. That's inspiring. We might not know their names, but they're doing those things to better the community.
Okay. So children are the future.
I guess.
Now with that, I love that answer because, again, in Benton Harbor, it's always like everybody want to be seen. Mm-hmm. Everybody want to, they want to put on Facebook like, I help donate such and such turkey like Thanksgiving. I mean, Thanksgiving. Oh, I donated 15 turkey dinners. That's great, but once you gave them out, they always feel like they got to broadcast it. Did you do it for the likes, put on social media, or was it just done out of your heart? Like I'm that type of person where if I do something for you, that's it. I done it. If somebody found out about our dinner for you, they told you. Mm-hmm, I'm not going to put out, I gave out 15 turkey dinners. I'm not going to put out, hey, I did this, or I helped clean the highway, I helped clean the street. I feel like that kind of stuff is unnecessary to put up, because then it seems like you're just doing it for people to like what you did or get some likes on Facebook if you really done out the kindness of your heart. And like it's a lot of, hey, do you see me going on here in Benton Harbor instead of just doing stuff out of your heart nowadays as well. So I kind of agree with what she was saying with that, and that's a good thing.
But no, the difference of, because we use social media to get that information out there. So if someone is actually giving away the baskets or the food pantry, that's totally different from someone saying like, I decided to write this check to such and such, and they gonna do this, and it's all because of me. Like that's two totally different things, like it's because I know that there's people or organizations or churches that constantly give back. that constantly
Yeah.
they have like their flock put out there on their social media platforms, like, hey, this is what we're doing. Sign up, come here. Cause I mean, I'm going by even what I saw this year or what I've seen in previous years. This is where you come and pick it up. We'll do that for you. But there's a definite difference between I'm taking a picture of I'm writing a check to make sure that got shoes, and we're gonna make sure we buy them 10 dinners, and now I gotta take a picture with these people holding these 10 dinners. So that I think that's two totally different things. But I just wanted to make that point too. But
oh yeah, just like if I put up some shoes, hey, I got these shoes in size 8, I want to donate. You know, somebody inbox me. Somebody inbox me, they want the shoes, I give them the shoes. You know, but you got the people that won't just stop at that. When they get the shoes to the person, they want to take a picture with the shoes and the person. No, the person needed those shoes. They don't need everybody to know who got them, who needed them. It's done now, you know, and that's the kind of stuff I'm kind of talking about.
Right.
It's done now, you know.
Let's hear from Sheana when she's talking about power.
All right, let's see what she's talking about.
Power and influence look like in this community.
What power and influence look like in this community?
In this community, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I think power and influence really does look like popularity. Okay. I think that, if you're popular, you can be it. You it to the community. And it does not matter.
What does it mean?
You're the leader.
You're the leader.
You're the leader. Like, you don't, I mean, you could be popular for anything and that you could just drag that on and on and on.
Yeah.
I mean, like, for example, you could be you was a star basketball player in high school in the 90s. And you the man. Still today, you ain't did nothing for your community. You ain't did nothing to help nobody. But just because you played basketball in the 90s, you're the man. Stop it.
Yeah.
That's just...
You damage people's lives. You damage some people's family. You damage, you contribute to killing people. But then I still hear people because they popular. Free, blah, blah, blah. Free him out. But he done wrong. He killed somebody. He sold dope. But it's free him because he popular. Free them all. A guy on Facebook, he always say, free all the ones that did it. There's a guy on Facebook that says that. And he says it as a joke because so many people in the community just gravitate and they support that life. They
really do.
They really support that life in this community, which is a sad case. Oh. Are power and leadership and influence the same in this community, and are they interrelated?
So power is for the whole of the community. It's going to be power lays where the money lies. Mm-hmm. So whoever has the biggest buck is going to be able to outweigh a lot of things.
They employ a lot of people in this community, and there would be a lot of people unemployed. Mm-hmm. They were just, okay, we're going to pack up. We're going to move our headquarters to Texas. That would hurt Benton Harbor, whether people know it or not. And I know I talked about the inner city youth, but some of those workers stay in the inner city. Mm-hmm. So I had to kind of think about that myself, where, some of those people that work there might stay on Empire and Broadway. So, maybe they're affected in that way. Because a lot of people think because Whirlpool's here and Whirlpool's has money, it's big corporation, they supposed to save the city. Yeah. It's up to us to save it.
Yeah.
It's up to us, the people, to change the city. We put so much on Whirlpool should do this, Whirlpool should do this. What are we doing collectively or individually to affect our community? She kind of brought me back, because I was kind of on the edge too myself, and a lot of people be on the edge about Whirlpool, but I think they're affecting the community more than people think. Mm-hmm. That they affect some politics. They affect the politics, whether people know it or not. Whether we want to work with Whirlpool or not in politics, I think sometimes we just have to bite the bullet, and we have to. Yeah. Because we need them. Kind of, I ain't gonna say we just gotta have them, but we need them more than we think. You know what I mean? Because that's a big cash cow here in the city of Benton Harbor. You know, whether we want to go with it or not, it's the truth.
I mean, it's really as far as power and who has the money is the healthcare system and Whirlpool.
Yep.
Because automotive is really a thing of the past.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, that was why a lot of our people moved to this area was to work for the automotive field. But
bring back the factories, Whirlpool. Bring back the factories.
You
know, because a lot of people, and like in the 80s, maybe the late 70s, the 80s, not sure exactly the time period, but a lot of African Americans, they did well.
Mm-hmm.
Saying now with our kids, you know, college not for everybody, you know, maybe, you know, find a trade, you know, but Whirlpool was a place when they had the factories here where you can go get that job and make good money, take care of your family. You know, my father worked for Whirlpool factory. My grandmother, who's 88 years old right now, she worked at the factory. My uncle worked at the factory. My aunt worked at the factory. Like my grandma and all her kids worked at the factory of Whirlpool, you know, and that when they took that factory, you know, a lot of those folks, a lot of people took a hard hit in the community. You know, that's when the drugs hit hard back in the 80s. The crack epidemic was big in this community, and it's been going downhill almost ever since. You know, it get worse and worse. So I just think we need more jobs here. We need like I say, Whirlpool. I'm gonna say it again. Bring back the factory. If you hear this, bring back the factories. It was just a good thing here in Benton Harbor, and they made good money. So yeah, it's a lot of difference in opinions about Whirlpool and about Spectrum. But I think without either one, it would be even worse in the community.
So what was your big? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh,
you go.
What was your biggest takeaway with your conversation with Sheana? Like, what was a lot of your aha moments, or what was your biggest takeaway?
Just how we as people gotta be more accountable. You know, we glorify a lot of the wrong things, you know, and it gotta stop. You know, like I said again, our mindset has to change. You know, we're glorifying all the illegal activity. You know, it's not right, and that's what we instilling in our young people. You know, we gotta take back the streets. You know, the older people. You know, if the young people have nothing to follow, we're leaving them to follow the rappers, or you know, and we always talk about rappers and the gangster rappers, but they children don't go to inner city schools. They don't go to a Benton Harbor high school type of school. They go to private school. You know, a lot of our kids don't know that, but I didn't know that as a young kid either. But you know, as I'm older now, you know, I do a little reading. They go into the private schools. They not inner city kids. They live in Beverly Hills, going to private schools. But our kids listen to the rap and the trap. That's what they want to do because they think that's how they got. No, they got that car. They got that from hard work. Hard work, whether it's rapping or whether it's social media, whatever they own, it got it from hard work. You know, they dedicated to their craft. So we want to change that narrative and just having our kids have their own mind, have their own mindset, and just do positive. Be positive. You know, you don't gotta follow. It's all right to listen to the music, but and realize it's not real. You know, it's not real. It's it's entertainment purposes. Almost just like a movie. You know, Ice Cube, but you see him in Boys in the Hood. You know, he not living like that. No, it's a movie. You know, just like it's entertainment. Music is entertainment. We need our young people to start seeing that for just what it is, and try to do better and better themselves, and have that better mindset to do better things. You know, to help this community. Because like a lot of our young people now they're tearing the community down. You know, we having a lot of shootings around here, young folks. You know, they hearing it in the music. You know, they might hear the Chicago rapper, the Detroit rapper. And I'm not putting nothing against those rappers, but it's entertainment. It's entertainment. So we got to figure out how are we going to get these kids back? You know, how are we going to get jobs back in this community? You know, how are we just going to better this community going forward? We can't stay in the same place because it's only going to get worse and worse if we keep doing the same thing.
Okay. So I know, as you've even stated before, we're not going to hear from all the interviews that you did, but I am glad that you were able to sit down with the next person that we're going to talk about, because he, as some of us would describe, is a heavy hitter, influencer on social media. He's always got the jokes. He's always got, it's full of laughs, and sometimes he can be quite serious. Sometimes he can really hit you where it hurts. So what made you sit down with, I can probably already answer this question, but what made you actually sit down with, maybe I should just have you introduce him. Tell me about the next person we're talking about.
The next person I interviewed, his name was Andre Crenshaw, resident of Benton Harbor, lifelong resident of Benton Harbor. I know a few years he went off to school at Baker and Muskegon, but he's just a guy that keeps it real. You know, he keeps it real. And like, again, on social media, like you say, he's on social media, he cracks jokes, but his jokes get or some of his crazy posts might get the looks, the likes, you know. But when he posts that positive post, it gets very little traction. You know, like people, it's like they run away from positive. They feed into negativity. But me and him just sat down and we talked about, you know, what he thought about how the community is going, and he's all around good guy, you know. So that's why I kind of wanted to talk to him. And again, like the young lady we just talked about, he keep it real, no, you know, straight shot, you know, no chaser. He gonna tell you, you know, what it is and how you feel about it, you know, right or wrong. You know, so I enjoyed our conversation about these topics about leadership and influence in the city of Benton Harbor. He was excited to do the interview.
So what did he have to say about influence?
He talked a lot. He talked quite a bit about how the young men, you know, how we're so caught up in the materialistic things, and we go out, we want to be the drug dealers, we want to go to get the nice car, we want to dress fly, you know, because that's what the women go for, you know. And I was like, man, you know, it was just strange, you know, like women give guys play because they got a nice car. He might be broke, but he got a nice car. You know, he might got $35 in his pocket, but he's sharp. So the women might go for that guy. He's popular. That's how you get. Again, I got a lot of the same answers from a lot of the interview people, because a lot of people feel the same way about what's influencing our community. You know, or she got all the hair, or she got all the hair for sale. You know, she's popular. You know, she got the influence on the younger girl, or she do makeup, which is positive, but
the great thing about when you're talking to friends, sometimes you forget that you're even a part of a podcast, because it's just genuine conversation. It's just natural. So that wraps up part 1 of our conversation with Larry, around the conversations that he's been having around leadership, influence, and power in his hometown. So you got to come back next week. I tell y'all that every time. You got to come back next week. And we'll be talking to Larry again for this special series of the Please Do Tell podcast, Everyday People of the 49022. We'll see you next time.